to Film in Minnesota 2021. I am Rahana Power.
I'm Alan Tracy.
And we are still your co-hosts for this podcast, believe it or not. 2021, welcome, Alan. How's it feel?
It's strange. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
And still kind of the same.
I was just going to say, kind of the same. Feels kind of the same right now.
Yeah.
Like it's actually just like the 13th month of 2020.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
Yeah, somebody played a joke on us and it's never going to end.
Yeah.
Yeah, this month, and we're only halfway through the month at this point while we're recording this, but this month has already been 6.5 years long, and intense, to say the very, very least.
Yeah.
Scary. Like it's weird because there's a mixture of hope, I feel like, that's really blossoming. Mm-hmm. But it's coming out of a very deep, dark, scary place.
Yeah, definitely a place that comes out of a lot of fear. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I'm hopeful for at least the next 11 months of the year that we're going to see a lot more good than what we're currently used to.
Right. Hopefully in a matter of weeks. So.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. There's been, we turned the page. I think that was the start.
Yeah.
But then it was like 6 days in.
Like, seriously, how ridiculous.
Not even a week.
It's like, yay, 2021, things are going to start getting better. Woo, just kidding.
Oh, boy.
Get back inside. Don't leave.
Yeah.
Stop thinking happy thoughts. Knock it off.
I read an article about also the virus, just 1 in 3 in Los Angeles County have had the virus.
Awful. Oh, and now there's, I think 2 new variants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of which is I read the title of an article. I did not read the article. I was in transit at the time. But the title of the article, I say that I was not driving. I need to specify this. I was in transit, but not driving. I felt like that needed to be clarified. Something about like how one of the variants is, they are expecting it to be very prominent in Minnesota specifically, which is scary. Again, I didn't read the article. There could be a lot more to that than what I know. Probably is.
Yeah.
You can find it on the internet. But yeah, so scary stuff. Having said that, I know so many people that have gotten the vaccine already.
Oh, really?
And I'm so happy about it. So happy.
That's good.
Yeah.
At least the first shot, I guess.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
First shot. Yeah. Lots of healthcare workers doing the thing, getting the shot, and I'm thrilled for them and proud of them, and can't wait for that to be more of a wide spread thing where everyone's walking into CVS getting their shots, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
It will be glorious.
Yeah. And obviously testing and all that in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Still doing the thing.
Yeah, Carl Anthony Towns just got it.
I am so sad for him. I cannot imagine how scary that is for him. Like, after losing his mother to it, and didn't he lose his dad too? He lost 2 people to COVID, and now he has it. I can't imagine. Like, he's got to be terrified. That poor man.
Right. I only saw that he tested positive. I don't know what his symptoms were or are. And then all the people at the Capitol, it's just like, oh boy.
Yeah, it's awful.
That didn't help.
Oh God, no. No.
And obviously, number 45, just, pushing that message that he didn't lose the election when...
Stupid.
Yeah.
I think we should just stop calling him 45, to be honest. Like, he doesn't deserve the number anymore. Let's just pretend like that number doesn't exist. It's the new 13, essentially. So you just, you have stairs and you go from 44 to 46, and that's okay. You just skip one. There's no floor 45. Like, all these things. I think that's what should happen. Because, I have very strong feelings.
Yeah.
But, on top of all the scary things, there's some good coming out right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes movies. You guys, we finally have some new movies. Now, I know that there were a few movies that were able to come out last year because they were made previously, blah, blah, blah. But, the big box office movies that we've been waiting for because the trailers have been out for, 2 years, and they just keep pushing it back. We finally got a few of them, and I'm so, so excited to talk about these today. I've only seen a handful. I think you have too, but I say, you know what? Let's spoil the shit out of these. Let's do it.
You've already...
Spoiler alert.
Yes. This is the spoiler alert ahead of time, so if you skipped, you're in trouble, because that's the title of the episode, so... there's some clues out there for you. Yeah.
We are...
Since 2021 was already spoiled, we're going to spoil this for the rest of y'all.
Exactly. So if you have not seen movies like Promising Young Woman, Tenet, Wonder Woman 84, Midnight Sky, first of all, what are you doing with your time? But second of all, just stop here. We love you for listening. Just go ahead and just hit the pause button. Go over to Netflix and Amazon and Best Buy, because I don't think Tenet's on any of those. I could be wrong. But, watch the movies, HBO Max, watch all the movies, do the things, and then come back and hang out with us. We'll still be here.
Yeah, unless you like spoilers, then by all means, buckle up.
I was telling Jared that we were going to be doing a spoiler episode because I'm so excited to talk about these movies, and he made fun of me because he actually calls me spoileries, because I get really anxious watching movies if I'm not in a theater, or watching TV shows and stuff, and I feel like I need to know what's about to happen if my anxiety gets too high, so I'll Google it.
Oh.
I'll Google, or I'll Google who is this person or something like that, and then all of a sudden there's spoilers that are right there on the page, and I'm just like, oh shit, now I know blank is happening, and it's a whole thing. So he, I got made fun of a little bit for this episode, but I don't care. I'm so excited.
Right.
Spoiler episode. Okay, so we might as well talk about some, the, I guess, most realistically scary and upsetting film out of those four, since, it kind of blends with 2020 and 2019, even 2021, just today in general. Let's talk about Promising Young Woman, Alan.
Yeah. Wow. I sat in the dark after watching that film for a while. It was just kind of like,
it makes you reflect, right?
Yeah, I was just like, oh, what did I? Yeah, it's the ending. We'll get to that.
Yeah. But even throughout the film, I think both as a woman and as a man, you can really reflect and take away so much from this. And it's really, it made me really sad, so many parts of this film, because it's realistic. Not necessarily, I don't know if women actually do these things. So the premise, Carey Mulligan, who is Cassie, her friend, best friend, her whole life, they went to medical school together, and her best friend was brutally raped in a trigger warning, if you have no idea what this movie's about. Brutally raped at a college party in medical school. She was the top of their class. all of that, brilliant. And it traumatized her to the point where she eventually killed herself. And which for me, like throughout the movie, I thought that that's what had happened. But then there was a scene where Cassie's talking to Nina's mom. Nina is her best friend. And the way that her mom responded to something, it made me think that maybe Nina wasn't dead. And I was hopeful. But it turned out that she was.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. And the, she was traumatized, went through that experience. Cassie was traumatized. They both dropped out of medical school. And the boy who did it and did it in front of all of his friends, because Nina was very intoxicated, did not know what was going on, and they're at this party and this just happened, and it right in front of the group of friends. We find out later there is a tape of this, and nothing happened to the boy that did this, to the man that did this, and he shows up later again. And so yeah, Cassie is also extremely traumatized, and it's really shows her like dealing with that trauma in a way that she's trying to teach a lesson to men in general that prey on women, on vulnerable women. But at the same time, you see this notebook that she has, and she's keeping tally of how many men she's doing this to, and the names of them and all of that. And it's countless. Like, it's so many, and she's still going because that's something that isn't going to ever stop for her. Like, that's never going to fix the trauma.
Right.
And so it's sort of like she's trying to fill this hole, and it's not fillable. As
much as she might try, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because, it's a small notebook, but you see how many tick marks and how many names are in it, how many nice guys there are, supposedly.
Yeah. I'm a nice guy. I just wanted her to punch one of them in the face after they said that. I was like, you say you're a nice guy one more time.
But it's also like,
oh my gosh.
At first, like the very first one. Well, okay, let's get into it. So, the movie opens with a song called "Boys" by Charlie XCX. There's a bit of dark humor in that. Like, we cut into the film with that. Like, it's kind of misleading. The lyrics are like, I'm thinking about boys, basically. Busy thinking about boys. But the way Cassie thinks about boys is different, And this song makes you think like women are thinking about boys in a, happy way or something.
Yeah.
And then this is where the dark humor is you see a bunch of bellies. That's the first shot of men.
Yep.
All kind of like thrusting into the air and
all in like khakis and like a tucked in like button up shirt. Yeah. It's all the same. Like all of them are the same.
And then there's this one old lady dancing with all of them.
Yes.
I thought that was hilarious. I mean, come on, that's funny. They had a chance to be funny. They did it, They had some fun there. So.
Yeah, I think that they did that a lot throughout the movie, too. Like, they had, like, serious moments where they're like, hey, we're pointing this out, but we're going to bring in, like, some humor to sort of layer it,
Because when you look at the film, the style is not, like, super dark David Fincher-esque look,
Right, which it could be.
Right.
They could have very well done that, yeah.
But it's more, like, colorful, comedy-like, almost like Midsommar type of look, just stark daylight kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which this is. This is, it's bringing it full front center. You're gonna be paying attention. So, you think it's about something? Yeah, I don't know. It's a subliminal thing for visual storytelling, I think.
Right.
I thought the relationship with her parents was interesting. Oh, well, before I get to that, the first encounter with
Adam Brody.
Adam Brody, yeah.
That guy.
Who plays Jerry.
Yeah. Who, honestly, it, like, at first glance, the way that he's reacting, you think, like, well, if you're not a woman, you think, like, okay, this guy, it seems like he might actually be a nice guy. Like, he's sort of, like, not paying attention to what his friends are saying and just sort of like, you guys are being dumb. And then he goes over and he almost seems like kind of like looking at her in this like way where it's like, Jesus, what are you doing to yourself? Like, do you know what you're like? You need to go home. What's wrong with you? Kind of a way. And finally says like, okay, well, you can't call yourself an Uber. I will, I have to get an Uber anyway. You can come with me. I'll drop you off. And really seems like he's actually going to do it. Mm-hmm. If you're a woman, you know that this is not the case. This is not going to happen. But they do a good job, I think, of making his character, at least
seem
start
likable.
out in that way. Yes.
Yeah.
And then the moment happens and all of a sudden he's like, oh, hey, my apartment's not far. You want to come over for a drink first? And then he pours her this gigantic full glass of something.
As full as he can make it. Yep.
And gives himself this little tiny shot. So he can just bloop, I'm good. Because he's a douche.
Yeah.
And God, some of my favorite moments in this is the moment that she turns it off. Where all of a sudden she's like, hey, I said, what are you doing? And she's clearly the look on their faces every single time. I was like, that is fucking brilliant. That is wonderful.
And the words at the bar are definitely words Emerald has heard before. So
yeah,
because she wrote and directed this, Emerald Fennell.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But it's like, why do girls do this? Where are her friends? They're doing this to themselves or whatever.
Yeah.
All that,
making it their fault.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if something happens, it's clearly her fault. It's on her.
Yeah, whereas, a drunk man, they wouldn't say that.
No.
They would say, oh, he's just shit-faced or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas, oh, she's just asking for it, basically.
Yes.
And it's like, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
She knows the words. We've all probably come across people like that. So.
Oh, for sure. And it plays it's a reflection of, so she's doing this and experiencing this every night, but she's smart enough to be doing this on purpose to catch them. But it's the same narrative every single night where the experience or what happened to her friend and all the conversations that came out of it, she eventually, I'm jumping ahead here, I'm sorry. She goes and she talks to another friend of theirs that they were really close with. And she talks to the dean of the school about this. And it repeatedly, everyone she talks to is like, well, she seemed into it and she was fine. And it's her word against his and blah, blah, blah. And all these same things. She did it to herself. She shouldn't have been that drunk. She shouldn't have been there alone. All these things, as if that makes it okay. And that's what these boys are saying every time she's out the bar. Well, she's asking for it. It's going to happen. She's doing this to herself. It's the same narrative. So it's repeated throughout the film in a couple different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and even Alison Brie's character, Madison.
Yeah.
Wow. It's that type of, what is that? It's apologetic, or what is that type of, where it's it buys into that as a woman who perpetuates the, kind of that myth, I suppose.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, instead of her standing up for what she clearly knows is right, she's falling into the
male apologetic behavior.
Yeah, allowing it to happen. Well, I don't want to make these people mad. I don't want to upset them. Mm-hmm. Which is bullshit.
Be a nice girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Alison Brie did a really good job in her role. That's got to be hard to be that character. But I thought she did really well with it.
She did. It's just
Yeah.
And then how she kind of sets up her character is just like, interesting. And then just don't call her back. Just you know, it's like, and you do forget about her for a time.
Yeah, you totally do. That's the other thing is like they make the film goes like kind of ramps up with this is the behavior that's going on. This is the event that happened. This is the behavior that's happening now. Like this is what Cassie is doing. This is just her life. She lives at home. Her parents want her to get, you know, a better job and a boyfriend and live happily ever after and move out. And she's clearly not interested in any of those things. Like, obviously, her view of men is they're shit and I want nothing to do with them, which is understandable. And, you know, she doesn't want, like, all of those material things. She just wants to teach men that it's not okay to do this. That is her, like, sole, like, goal, focus in life at this point.
Right.
But so it really ramps up with like her doing this and having those relationships with her parents and everybody. And her boss, Laverne Cox, is amazing. I love her. Like everyone's trying to like help her. Like we're going to get you, you know, a new job, like something. And she doesn't want any of it. And then it takes that turn when she meets Ryan or re-meets Ryan, who was also in med school with them. And
it's a big challenge for her to pursue a relationship, basically.
It is like she fights it at first, and you have hope that it's good, but at the same time it sort of the narrative kind of goes in almost like it could go in a very stereotypical way where like, oh, she met a man and he was good and they live happily ever after and it's okay now, but it takes a very, very sharp turn when Madison finally comes back and is, after having a scare herself, which Cassie set up, to say, like, here, I have a video of this. I like how she came over and she's like, I forgot about this, but, and I'm like, wait a second, you had the phone. How do you forget that there's a video of this going on? And if there was a video, why would that not have come out when the event happened? But whatever. But so she brings it over, and that's the turn in that narrative where it doesn't matter anymore how happy Cassie thought she was with this new boyfriend, learning, this is a very big spoiler that I did not expect, that he was there. He was watching this whole thing happen. He was part of it, of what ruined her best friend's life.
I kind of expected it because he brought up like Madison and Al, and the music plays to that, you know, when he mentions Al. And you don't need words to understand that there's something there between her and Al in the past. And then they slowly put the pieces into place for you to let you know what Nina meant and all that. I think it's very interesting, like you touched on the parents, like the framing of her and the parents when she's like, they're far away in the distant, like as she's... It just kind of shows her relationship with them. And you always see her framed like in two frames, basically. She's in a box inside a box. And then you see, even when she's sitting with them for like breakfast or whatever, they're never sharing the frame. And it's a very unique visual storytelling technique where it's like... Normally, maybe do an over the shoulder or something, like to show, you know, they're there with them. But when you isolate them,
not here.
When you isolate them and they're dead center, and it's just very stark, you know, very bland. And throughout the film, you never see Cassie share the frame with her mother. So
Yeah, that relationship is very, very broken. Yeah. Which was really sad for me seeing that. Like, she seemed to, at least, like, her dad at one point later on, like, acknowledges Nina and said, like, we loved her. She was like a daughter to us, and we miss her just like you, but we've really missed you. Like, so her dad at least acknowledges, you know, this, and, like, acknowledges that he understands that she is also traumatized and going through this. But her mom never does. Her mom just wants her to just be back to normal and have a boyfriend and move out and be a doctor, and that's all. And she's just so upset that she didn't do any of those things.
And she's 30 years old. How do you forget your birthday?
Yeah.
What kind of person does that? And it's just...
I was so mad when she said that. She's like, what kind of person forgets their 30th birthday? Like, bitch, don't you dare yell at her for that. How dare you?
Well,
I was so mad.
Yeah. There are two things there. One, she's still living at home. She, like, kind of puts that on her, and of course it's a suitcase. It's like, get the fuck out.
You can get out now. Yeah, like, you can leave now.
And it's also like, and they obviously acknowledge that with her conversation with Gail, Cassie's conversation with Gail. But I think it's interesting that the mother has a very traditional way of viewing the way her life should have gone. And she doesn't know well, she knows what happened, I think.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know how much she knows, you know. But they probably know that Nina committed suicide, but probably not why. So
I don't know. I feel like with how important that is to Cassie, and how, you know, she, like, talked to, you know, the group and tried to be like, I feel like she was at the forefront of trying to, like, really make Al pay for this when it was going on. Like, I can't imagine that and I mean, maybe her mom didn't know. That's a good point. But, like, I can't imagine that she wouldn't have told her.
Right. Well.
And her mom, I think, being that traditional person, is probably like, well, we don't talk about that, and that happened, and it's over, and you can't live in the past, and like that. And that's how I viewed her, as very, like, it doesn't matter that it happened, it's done, and you need to move on. Right. Kind of a person. But maybe you're right. Maybe she didn't know about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that also shows how deeply Cassie is into this, what she's doing. Like, she doesn't even remember, like, her life now. She's so focused on the past that doing what she's doing is her mission. And she doesn't even care about herself, really. So it kind of speaks to that a little.
It does.
And then to the point where when she meets Ryan, and then finally, you know, you see them at the table with her parents, you know, and it's actually, you know, they share a frame, like I said, but she doesn't share it with her mother.
No.
So that's very interesting.
Never.
And, Ryan, Bo Burnham. Burnham? Is that his name?
Yeah, I think so. I had so much hope for his character, too.
Oh, yeah. He seems like such a nice guy, right?
He does, because he's going about asking her out in a much, like, softer way. Like, like, he actually cares about wanting to date her. And even in the moment when they're outside his apartment and he says, you know, oh, hey, look, this happens to be my apartment. Would you want to come up? He immediately acknowledges that he should not have said that. And she's clearly uncomfortable, and he's like, shit, nope, I take it back. I shouldn't have done that. Never mind. Like, I'm so sorry. And then... and then it turns out that he's just a terrible fucking person. Right.
Now, he seems like the greatest guy, right? He works at a children's hospital. He's a doctor, you know.
He's funny. He like tries to make her laugh. Yeah.
He obviously cares what she thinks of him, so.
Yeah. There were moments, and I understand that because Cassie is she's traumatized to the point where intimacy is not like her strong suit. Like she's not comfortable with it. And so even in them saying, I love you, she's still you can tell she's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Even though she's saying it. And so I understand that this was his way of trying to alleviate maybe that uncomfortability for her, but I did not like at all that he's trying to say this, and she was like uncomfortable, like, no, I don't know, and he was just like, no, you stupid bitch, no, and I was like, oh my God, I will murder you. Like, are you kidding me? You do not, like, that made me so uncomfortable. I was so upset. And then he's like, I love you. I'm trying to say I love you. And I was like, You do not get to say those two things in the same sentence. That is not okay. I was very upset. Yeah, I have issues with men saying things like that. And, like, especially in the tone of this film.
Yeah.
That was an indicator to me that something wasn't quite right with him.
Oh.
Like, I feel like men that I know that are good people, et cetera, I could never see them saying things like that to the women that they care about. So the moment that is easily coming out of your mouth, I feel like that's a problem. So that was one issue that I had with him.
Right. Okay.
Earlier on.
I have a bunch of nerdy things for filmmakers here now. Visual things. Because they kind of revolve around this relationship. First, as she's reflecting in the mirror, about going on this date with Ryan, you see, the first time you see, like, kind of like the specter of Nina. You'll see it twice. At least I found it twice. This scene where she's reflecting in the mirror, you see like a hanger up with like a scarf and a shirt or something. You see it in the background there the first time, and like it's daytime, and then the second time you see it, it's a robe at night when she's looking at the screensaver, and it's like light and then dark, kind of horror-ish, and you see like the robe there hanging on the like wardrobe or something. It is, when you look for it, it's like creepy as hell, because it's almost like a ghost, and it's set up that way, so that you see it, because when the light comes on, you see it, and then it goes away, and it's like, oh my God. She's living with the specter of Nina over her. So it's always a presence with her. But also, when she goes to meet Ryan at the hospital to basically like ask him, like say, yeah, okay, I want to go out with you.
Yep.
There's a big mural of the mountains. That's a foreshadowing technique of what's to come. And you see the red balloon. She sees the red balloon.
Yep.
Like hanging above like a kid over the mural. I did some research on, because I was curious about, because we see these red dots or the balloon or a lampshade later on. They're all red. Even the train car is like pink. There are no train cars that are pink. It's like when she hits that guy's car, with the tire iron.
Yes. Yep.
And then the train comes by and you see this big pink thing rolling by. It's just like, they're doing this on purpose. This happens so many times.
Yeah.
And so I looked it up. The red balloon, archetypal, what the hell? A symbol of childhood and freedom. Present a powerful message that can be read in a number of ways, whether you see the girl as losing the balloon or about to catch it. The meaning can be interpreted as a loss of innocence or the arrival of new hope and love. It even happens with the text messages at the end, like her little pink. I don't get pink dots for people. Maybe other phones do. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
The initials for her when those text messages come in.
Mm-hmm. Yep. At the very end.
Yeah. But yeah, those are just some of the visual cues to look for. And I was like, what does this mean? Because you see it when she's about to leave Madison at the hotel. Mm-hmm. You see a red dot. It's like very conspicuous. It's like they angled it that way on purpose. And just like a pink boxcar. Come on. There are no pink boxcars. And yeah, I was just kind of like, what is this? And then all the like coffee cups in the coffee shop.
Yep.
Behind her. Mm-hmm. It's, so there's a little, treat for you guys.
Interesting.
So if you watch it again, you'll maybe notice it.
Yeah, I didn't notice it. Now I want to watch it again to catch that.
Yeah. If you have the 48-hour rental, go for it.
Heck yeah.
But the art department had a lot of fun with that, I can tell.
Oh, I believe it. Absolutely. So, Alan, I think
And then the ending.
I was going to say, I think we should talk about the ending.
Okay.
Okay. So Cassie finds out, she gets this video, she finds out that Ryan was there. He was part of, what led, like, the rape and death of her best friend. She confronts him, and at first he's saying, I love you, and I'm a different person. He tries to say that he wasn't there. She starts playing the video, and he starts losing it, and she says that she's going to send it to everyone that he knows, unless he tells her where the bachelor party is for the guy who did it, because he's in town, he's getting married, and she wants to be there. And so he gives her that. She leaves, and as she's leaving, he, I think, calls her a stupid bitch again or something, and which just sort of was full circle in who he actually is as a person.
Right.
But then, so she goes to the cabin, which is in the middle of, like, nowhere.
In the mountains.
In the mountains. And she's dressed she's showing up to pretend to be a stripper in, like, a little nurse's outfit. She's got, like, this little rainbow-looking wig on, and a little, like, nurse's bag, which we find out later has actual, like, scalpel and stuff in it. She's got, like, a big bottle of vodka or something, and she walks in, and no one admits to having ordered a stripper, but at the same point, they're like, okay, well, they're
all good with it.
Yeah, they're fine with it. They don't complain. She gets all the guys drunk with that bottle.
She roofies them, basically.
Yes, which she has roofied, which I think is brilliant. And then brings the guy upstairs, and she's like, we don't have to do anything. His name is Al. Brings Al upstairs. We don't have to do anything if you don't want to, but I don't get paid unless we go upstairs. Brilliant. They go upstairs, and she uses little fuzzy handcuffs and handcuffs him to the bed. And he's like, well, I'm not comfortable with this. And she's like, it's just for my safety. So I have to. And he's like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden he asks her what her name is. And she says, Nina. And then she says, Nina Fisher, which is the girl's name. And he loses his shit. And I love it.
Yeah.
He starts panicking, understandably. And she eventually says, this is who, like, he gets that, like, she's her friend, and finally links it all together and starts panicking and saying, I didn't do anything, and it's not my fault, and she was there.
And we were just kids.
Yeah. All this stuff. And she basically says, like, everyone associates, or Nina, with you. I even associate Nina with you, but nobody ever says her name except for me, when you should be associated with her name forever. And she pulls out a scalpel, and she's about to climb on top of him and, like, carve her name, Nina's name, in him.
Yeah.
I was all for it up until this moment, because when she crawls on top of him, he breaks out with one of his arms and punches her and crawls on top of her and smothers her and kills her, suffocates her. And one fact is her, Fennel's dad, I believe, is a police officer or some type of law enforcement official. And so she asked him, like, how long does it take for someone to die this way, from being suffocated? And he said about 2.5 minutes. So they filmed it for 2.5 minutes just looking at it. And that's because they wanted to be realistic.
Right.
So that's one thing. Two, Carrie Fisher did not use a body double or a stunt double for that
Mulligan.
scene. Oh my gosh, thank you, Carrie Mulligan. Words. And then, so that's her the whole time. But then they had to do ADR for that scene, and she said that was the worst ADR she's ever done. Like, that was awful because they had to use different pillows and try and like recreate that same sound, and it was awful. But so she dies, and he is still handcuffed with one hand to the bed. So they're just next to each other all night. He's crying. And
his buddy Joe or whatever comes in.
Max Greenfield, comes in and thinks that they're just laying next to each other. And so he's like, no, she's got to get up. She's got to leave. We have to go. And he's like, no, she's dead. He doesn't believe her or believe his friend.
Yeah. He's like, what is this, the 90s?
Yeah.
It's like...
Starts patting her and pulls the pillow off of her face and recognizes that she is in fact dead. Al starts losing it. He's crying, he's bawling, he's freaking out. Am I going to go to jail? All this stuff. And they like come up with this plan to basically just take care of it. Nobody has to know. We'll get the rest of the guys out of here. We'll take care of it. It's going to be fine. So they take her out into like a field in the mountains and burn her body. Which is
I was freaking out at this point. This is like nightmare territory. It's just like
yes. I was really upset watching this. This is not where I wanted it to go. I don't think this is where anyone wanted it to go, but Fennel said that she wanted it to be realistic and having the ending be this was originally supposed to be the end of the film, is them burning her body, cut to black, like that's it. And she said that she had originally written it that way because even though she wanted to write this big scene where Cassie goes in and takes care of all these guys and kills everyone, it's not honest. It's not true. That is not how that would play out. And it was important to her to play out as realistically as she could, whatever that would look like. So that was originally the end of the film.
Okay. And in that scene, that's where the red lampshade is, by the way.
Oh, yes, that's right. And then we go to Ryan's office, like her parents' office. The investigation is a missing person. And I knew this was going to happen. It was just kind of like, Ryan's going to lie. I know what's going to happen. Yeah. Just to top off who he really is, to like really reflect that.
A lot of the, and then finally the wedding comes about.
Yep.
And then the payoff with the lawyer. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, him.
Yeah, because the lawyer, Al's original lawyer, when the rape happened and everybody went to court,
he's the only one who grew a conscience from it.
And he
remorse.
Quit doing what he was doing, and he was very remorseful and lost it on Cassie because he was so, like, he can't sleep, he can't live with himself, knowing that this is what he's done. So she sends him the phone with the video of what happened. And says...
Plus where she is.
Yeah, like, this is where I went on this date for these people. If I go missing, this is probably what happened to me. This is what happened to me. And everybody gets caught. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and it's a payoff from their Ryan and her's first date where he's like, she was so smarter than he was. And it was like, of course she is. She had to be in some way.
Yep.
So,
and that's
unfortunately even dead, but that's commentary too. It's like Cassie's actually better off dead. It's like than living in a world with these douchebags, you know? It's like it's almost like that's also, well, I'm sure it's not a commentary on that, but it's just kind of like, are you better off dead than like just living with these people in the world?
Yeah.
It's like,
and that's another thing that Mulligan and Fennel had said was, so she's a really smart person, and she's very meticulous. She does not go into that situation where she's in a cabin in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of drunk men thinking that something bad might not happen to her. So she's made all these arrangements ahead of time to expose all of them, assuming that this is what's going to happen, because she knows there's a really strong possibility that she's not going to make it. But this is, again, her cause in life. This is what all that she's living for. And so it's worth the risk to her. She's very cavalier with her life for her cause.
Yeah. I just, And then, everyone gets their comeuppance, at least Al.
Yeah.
For sure. So, there is one little comedic part besides the Paris Hilton thing.
That was pretty good, yeah.
But when they're talking about her mom, because her mom is Jennifer Coolidge, who played Stifler's mom in American Pie. Yep. And they play it a little bit like, so you dated my mom? It's like all these little things that were like kind of those Stifler's mom jokes, kind of. Because they know, who she is. If you don't, then you haven't lived in the 90s.
Right.
But, but yeah, it was kind of a throwback. They weren't implicit or explicit about it, but, it was implied that, she's kind of got it still.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah. So, overall,
but,
I thought it was an excellent film.
I was so mixed up on that ending. I was just like, it was satisfying, but disappointing, too.
But, I mean, honestly,
because it's real.
That's the thing. It is.
What these guys would do. They would totally cover their asses.
100%, yeah. Because they don't think that they've done anything wrong.
Yeah.
Which I think is really is very key for today,
Yeah. Oh,
so,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really strong. Another intense movie, but less awful, was Tenet.
The inverse effect.
I loved this movie. Like, it's, first of all, Christopher Nolan can do no wrong. And I think everyone can just collectively agree with that. But I feel like we had talked about this before, but this was like sort of a mix of what he had done with like Inception and Memento. And, I thought it was so excellent. So this movie has John David Washington, a.k.a. Baby Denzel, and Robert Pattinson, and there's a couple of other, a few other amazing actors and actresses in it. But it really, it fucks with your mind in the coolest way. I've seen it a couple times now. We both have. And it's really sort of a play on, what's really happening now, what has happened, kind of even more like not what happened before is what defines you today, but like what's going to happen in the future is what defines you today. Because it's all happening sort of at the same time, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, I told you about that. I have a big kind of thing with like predestination and free will, like which is more true. And in this film, it seems to be that, predestined things are more true.
Yeah.
Things are meant to happen a certain way because they've already happened. And it's like, what?
Yeah. It's it's twisty. It's very twisty. I loved the overall like story, even outside of all of that extra layer of like time and space and all of that. It's an ex-CIA agent who is now part of this agency, kind of, which I didn't totally understand, that's like beyond any agency that any of us know. Like he's proven himself, and so now he is in this monumental role to stop essentially World War III and the end of the world. And not just the end of the world, the end of human history, because it's going to erase everything that has ever happened, which is really interesting. And he is working with Robert Pattinson's character today, but he hired Robert Pattinson in the future to work with him today.
Right.
It's so, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Confusing?
It is. It's reverse.
Yeah.
I think one of my friends and I, we talked about kind of like Christopher Nolan is really good at storytelling, whereas his brother Jonathan Nolan is really good at dialogue. And unfortunately, he didn't have his brother on this one. So there were some parts of the dialogue I didn't like.
Yeah.
Like calling himself the protagonist. Come on. Who says that?
I thought that was very interesting. Yeah. I noticed that because he does that a couple times when he's talking
and
to
someone
that
else,
woman. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And I'm like, what? Why? No one talks like this. But I'm the protagonist of this story. Well, that's very self-centered of you.
Right. And it just seemed odd. Like, in calling himself that, he's acknowledging that this is...
about me.
Yeah, like, this is more than just... I don't know. Like, he's not actually there to save the world. It's something bigger than that. Which seemed weird. I don't know.
But they did save the world? It's like...
They did.
Huh.
Right. And then part of me was confused about Arpat, so his character Neil. So he's there in the present.
Yeah.
But he was hired by John David Washington in the future to be part of the team.
And to teach him how to do this.
Yeah, but then...
when he taught him how to do this.
Right. So then...
I feel like we're missing the other half of this story.
Yeah,
like,
I feel like there's a little bit of a gap there. Because, like, at that point, wouldn't Neil have had to have basically gone to the inverse of time so that way he could meet John David and work with him moving forward again? But if he does that, then why is he able to breathe the inverse oxygen and, like, all that kind of stuff? Like, it seemed...
Yeah.
But maybe I was just not getting that. I could have very well just not been getting it. And then, like, the twist, so later, they're in this airport, and they're going through this whole thing, and shenanigans and all, and then they get attacked by these two men that they find out it's actually just John David Washington later in time, in the future. And at one point, John David even says, like... because they're walking on either side of this wall that has all these bullet holes in it, and Arpats is like, oh shit, what happened here? And John David's like, it hasn't happened yet. And it's interesting because his character in the future comes through and almost simultaneously is fighting his character now and Arpats' character on the other side of that wall.
Yeah.
At the same time, even though it's in the future.
Yeah.
It's very twisty.
Right. Because it's his whole journey in and out of airport or the art thing holding. Yeah, it's I think if they ever make a second one, it would have to explain the other half of, what'd you call them, RPATs?
Yeah, RPAT
side of things.
That would be awesome.
So,
I would actually really enjoy that.
Yeah.
I also...
It's kind of like an infinity loop. We have that half, but the other half is over here.
Yes. That would be fascinating if they did that. Another aspect from this film that I really loved was the soundtrack, the score. It was excellent and perfect for what this movie was. It really, really was.
Yeah.
Very intense.
Oh, and Sir Michael Caine. They even call him Sir Michael in it.
They do.
It's like,
I know. I love that.
That's great.
It was awesome.
Make his character Michael already.
Exactly.
So that's Sir Michael to you.
I loved it. It's a tiny, tiny role, but he does it perfect. It's wonderful. So moving away from like the intense films,
Wonder Woman 84.
Yeah. I have feelings that differ from a lot of people on this film. What did you think?
Well, first off, I really loved Kristen Wiig's character. Throughout the film, she has the most change.
Yeah, her arc is...
And a character arc. It's kind of more of a fall arc, but it's still kind of more interesting to watch, like villains and develop, and that she can meet Diana's level of power because she wants to be like her, and she's able to wish it to come true through this magical... What was it? What kind of crystal was it? Like
oh God, I don't remember the name.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Some rock.
Some wishing crystal. I don't know.
Yeah. And I did like Pedro Pascal despite the ending. I did not like the ending as much. We'll get into that.
Yeah.
You explained it quite well. I think you will.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is kind of the like I said, this is like the inverse ending to A Promising Young Woman. Speaking of between Tenet and this and that, it's kind of like it's supposed to be satisfying, but it's not,
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. It I think what happened with this. So first of all, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I love Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot, I think is actually how you say it. I heard somebody say it the other day when she was doing an interview and she didn't correct him. So I'm assuming that's accurate, which means I've been saying it wrong the whole time. But I love her, and I love her as Wonder Woman. I think she's perfect, like absolutely perfect. But and so I loved the first film, and I thought they did an incredible job setting up her character and like her vision and her path and all of these things in this universe. I think where the fall off was on this one, or where it really started, was the setting. I think setting in the 80s, they automatically made the decision to go cheesy with it. Because the 80s are fucking cheesy. The 80s are so cheesy. Think of any 80s movie and tell me it wasn't cheesy, and I'm going to call you a liar. Like, it is... The 80s were cheesy.
Oh. You didn't like E.T.?
See?
That cheesy.
Point made right there. Like, it's just cheesy. And so they really, really dove into that. Like, we had talked about earlier, like, the swinging around in the mall, and then she saves...
Yeah.
And, like, all this... Like, it... I get it. It had to show her doing her thing in the new era and da-da-da. But, like...
Yeah. It's a bit extra.
It is. It's extra. The way that it was done in the first movie could have been replicated even in the setting, but they fell into the cheesiness.
Yeah.
And okay, so her character... First of all, the film really focuses so much more on the characters outside of her in this movie, where in the last in the last film, they didn't do that. Like, you gradually learned a little bit about everybody, but they sprinkled it in. Whereas this film, it was like hardcore learning about Kristen Wiig, and then hardcore learning about Pedro Pascal, and like all this stuff. And even when Steve is back, Chris Pine, they really...
As a different dude.
Which I will touch on in a moment, because that bothered me. But like, even when he was back, they went hardcore into him experiencing things in the 80s, which is fine. It was funny. I really enjoyed that sequence. But I think that they could have... They just didn't... To me, it wasn't a Wonder Woman movie. It was a movie with Wonder Woman in it, and I wanted a Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah. Right.
The whole, like, Steve Rogers coming back as a different person thing, or not Steve Rogers, Lord, that is Marvel. Her boyfriend, Chris Pine, we'll go with that. Him coming back as a different person. Okay, here's the thing. If this wishing stone, this wishing crystal, can make Kristen Wiig a fucking cat, like, she is a cat. She's a GD cat, you guys. If they can do that, why can it not bring him back as himself? That is what I want to know. Why is that the one limitation this stupid rock has? Like, it can do literally everything else in the world that everyone wants in just an instant. And that was just a little beyond its capabilities, and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
So I had an issue with that.
Right.
Yeah. I would have loved more from her and less from everyone else to be sprinkled in. I love the characters. I just wanted more of Wonder Woman. And then I also know that a big issue that people had with her actual arc that within the film is that it was very stereotypical, like, female. Oh, I have everything and all I want is my man and I can't have him and I'll give anything up for him. Like, I get it. Stereotypical, first of all, I'm going to repeat this. It was the 80s. Like, they fell into that.
Yeah.
But then, and I mean, just think about movies in the 80s. Like, Pretty in Pink and The Breakfast Club. And, like, yeah, they're going to fall into that. But on top of it, I can also kind of understand that narrative and that she's been alive for how long? Like, because the other movie happened in, what, the 30s? I think, right? Or the 20s?
I think it was, one of the World Wars.
We'll say the 20s. We'll just say that. So let's say she's 20 years old. That means this woman is technically 84 years old. We'll just throw out a number. Maybe I'm off. I don't care. Fact check me. Do what you want.
Right.
But, like, so she's 84 years old. And she is going to live for essentially ever. And she does have everything. She can do anything. She saves lives. She is powerful and strong, and she has an amazing job. Like, she does something that she loves because she can, and she is her own woman. But she has a love of her life, and he is gone, and he was taken early, and she misses him. And that is understandable. That's fucking understandable. Yeah. This woman's 84. She deserves to have her a hunky man next to her if she wants him. I get it. She, first of all, made this wish not understanding the stupid rock was going to be like, well, I'm going to take who you are from you. Like, that was not the deal that she made. Like, she just wanted Chris Pine back. That was it. Mm-hmm. That was it. She didn't say, I don't want to be Wonder Woman anymore. So, like, and I understand that later she struggles with that decision. But you know what? Human beings struggle with decisions like that all the time. Like, I think that's normal to say, like, I've missed this, and I finally have it back, and letting go is difficult. They might have leaned into it a little too much, but I can understand that concept. I mean, she makes the right decision. Like, this is not his time. He's done. They got another chance and had that experience. But now she's understands, like, I'm Wonder Woman, and this is why I left my home to help save the world. So this is what I'm going to do. And so I think people just need to, like, calm down.
And she can't take the easy path. Just like in the beginning. And what else? I guess this kind of does two things. One, it gives us the first introduction of Wonder Woman to the public. And two, it also kind of sets her up for, because we know it's set in the past. So this is before she meets Superman and Batman and before Justice League and all that. So it kind of has to play in its time, kind of. I get that. But then the ending is just like, well, you're all fine. You all get what you want. No consequences. Right. It's the 80s. Yeah. Like, what? Okay. I don't get that, but okay.
Yeah. I think that was definitely a little much too. Like, there's...
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I have a son. I better go get him. It's like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
What?
Suddenly...
Who is this guy?
Suddenly realizes that his kid is all he wants. But, like, even the fact that, like, there's people everywhere like, I want this person to die, and da-da-da-da-da. Like, oh, like, Jesus. And all of a sudden, everything's just fine. Like, we take it all back.
Yeah.
Like, well...
That truth lasso really does it. Yeah, everyone in the world took it back, right? Except for Kristen Wiig, maybe.
Right. Man, yeah, that seemed a little like, that was sort of a weak boss fight to me. You know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like,
that's a good way of putting it. I like that.
Like,
very 80s.
It is. It's just very 80s. That's the only way to really describe it. I understand there were a lot of things that didn't make sense. There were, like, incontinuities. It just didn't... Like, I get it. I totally get it. Like, the Steve not being Steve thing isn't the only one. It was just the one that bothered me the most. I understand.
Right. She's moving on. She has to get past this somehow. And this is how. So...
It was the 80s. That's the only way to describe it.
It was a crazy time.
I feel like that's what the tagline for the movie should be. Like Wonder Woman 84. But it was the 80s. Like, it really explains everything that people don't like about the movie. If you just put it into that context. Like, compare it to any 80s movie. This is really good. Like, it is. It's really good.
80s movie, okay. Come on.
It did make me crave a new Wonder Woman movie that was what we expected, though. Like, that's really her.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful for that.
She had her moments, like in the car chase type of thing. That was pretty cool, seeing her fly up into the air. Although the flying thing...
Yeah, that was a little weird. Just out of nowhere? I don't know. Maybe?
Yeah. She can just fling herself across the world.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's just something she had never tried because she had never thought about it, and then all of a sudden she did think about it thanks to Chris Pine. Thanks, Chrissy P.
Okay.
Yeah, and so all of a sudden she was like, "Oh shit, I can fly."
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm falling with style. That's the Buzz Lightyear
There
thing.
you go, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I still liked it,
yes.
but I understand that many, many, many people did not.
I mean, I liked it to a point, and that point was in the ending. So
yeah. All right, and then our final film that we watched, Alan.
Yeah. Speaking of endings, The Midnight Sky with George Clooney, Felicity Jones. This was a good. I think this is based on a book, right? Yeah.
That would make sense. I could see that.
Good Morning Midnight.
Yeah.
Is the book.
I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the pacing of it. I had read before that people said it was really, really slow. I actually really enjoyed the pacing of it because it's basically the end of the world. Like, it is. It's the end of the world. Like, it's going to be slow. I don't know what you want, race cars and shit. Like, everyone's dead. Like, I don't... and it was moving. The relationship between him and the little girl, and then the relationship between him back in the day and his lady, and then the relationship on the ship with the two astronauts. I think all of those were really beautifully done.
Yeah. And he finds out, who his real daughter is in the end.
And it's Felicity Jones.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know that he's her dad, and he does. And it's such a moving moment. Oh my God, I cried. Dude, I'm not even going to lie to you. I cried. Like, It hit me in the heart. It really did. It was beautiful. And they all do such a good job. Like, all the relationships throughout the whole film. Because it's a small cast. Like, I mean, it's literally the end of the world. But, oh, man. Everyone did so phenomenal.
Yeah, George Clooney, I mean, I could watch him in isolation for a while.
Yeah.
And not get bored. I mean, it's just kind of like, what's he going to do next? What's he,
Yeah. He has that charming factor that he's...
Yeah. He's eating a bowl of cereal, okay?
Right. And seeing how, like, he gradually opened up to that little girl. Oh, my gosh. My heart. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was moving for me, the whole film.
Yeah.
And scary, because it takes place in this world where, humanity has ruined the planet. Like, we did. Like, it's climate change happened. The things happened.
Something happened, yeah.
And it's uninhabitable. And if they try and enter the Earth's surface, which 2 of them do, we don't see what happened to them. George Clooney's trying to reach out and let them know, like, if you try, you will die. You cannot make it into the Earth's surface. There is nowhere for you to go. Nowhere.
Yeah.
So please go back to this other planet or the moon or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was so sad. And then I got weird with it. Oh, I got weird with it. So Felicity Jones is pregnant. The 2 remaining astronauts are a couple. They are having a baby together. They are the only 2 that are going to inhabit this new planet. Those 2 and their baby. But then, all I could think of is, like, the paradox of, if you're going to, like, create civilization again, it's just going to be like sisters and brothers doing it with each other. And I got weird with it. And then I was uncomfortable and I was like, I don't like this anymore. Can humanity just be done? Let's just be done. Like, that's weird.
Yeah. Arrive late, leave early.
Yeah.
In the film.
Yeah. It's like, oof, my mind took it one step too far and I didn't like it.
Oh, okay.
But the movie was good.
Right. For me, because I'm a filmmaker, it was pretty predictable. I kind of figured, like, the daughter isn't technically there. Mm-hmm. He's seeing things because he's been in isolation for so long, and he needs that in his mind. Kind of like all of us right now. We need someone to kind of be there.
Yeah.
If you don't have anyone there. So I'm sure a lot of these folks in the world today are acting a fool for many reasons. So, but definitely because of the isolation, because it's like you're alone. You really don't have anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go to the store and see anyone or something. So
yeah, he is like the last person on Earth. He literally. It's
like Castaway, but the world's ending.
Right.
I think that was the pitch. Yeah.
It's I Am Legend without a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I did like the whole space aspect of it. Mm-hmm. Felicity Jones on that moon.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Or was it? Yeah, it was beautiful. The way they made it look was like, oh, I want to live there. That looks cool. Yeah. Or at least visit there.
Right.
You know?
And then I did also think when it showed that, though, I was like, but here's the thing, is if we inhabit it, it's going to become ugly soon. Because we ruin things. Like, Earth is beautiful, but we planted a bunch of gross-looking buildings and roads everywhere, and now it's just that. Like, and so that's the point. Like, I don't know. But it was so beautiful. Because isn't that, like, one of the first shots of the movie is her on that planet in her dream?
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And, yeah, that's scary. Being left in space alone. Oh,
oof, boy. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's repair the comms. Let's repair the radar. It's like, oh, jeez.
Right. Oh, and then the one astronaut dying that way out in the
I kind of figured someone's not coming back here. This is too typical.
You definitely felt it.
Yeah.
But it was still heartbreaking.
Everything's fine. Yeah, we're just repairing the thing here.
In the middle of space.
Oh, no. Asteroids.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's kind of rare. Well, you're such a small object in a vast amount of space. I mean,
yeah.
Anyways.
It was so sad.
But that's us spoiling those 4 movies for you.
Yeah, they're all worth watching. Please, seriously, take time if you haven't already to give them a shot. They're all entertaining.
Maybe we took the sting out of some of them for you, so you can watch with ease. So, upcoming movies, like we have Outside the Wire. Mm-hmm. What else do we have coming out that we could spoil in the future?
Sylvie's Love just came out, and I am watching that immediately. The Ma Rainey's movie, which is Chadwick Boseman's last movie. I'm going to cry. I'm going to bawl when I watch it, but I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, and heads up, because I did watch it, and we'll talk about that later, but do watch it with a Coke.
Coca-Cola. Yeah.
And it's okay if it's Coke Zero.
News of the World, new movie with Tom Hanks, looks really good. Mm-hmm. And then One Night in Miami looks amazing.
Oh, yeah. Fatale also is a film.
Yep. There's so many good ones coming out. I think I saw something from Netflix that said that they're coming out with one big movie a month now for the year.
Or at least a release, each week.
So I'm very excited. Hopefully we will have more big, exciting movies to talk about this year.
Yeah, maybe even series we can get into, because I know a lot of people are binging now.
Oh, 100%. I've binged almost every show in existence at this point.
Yeah, and also on Instagram and Facebook we had the what top 10s you guys would like to hear from us. Because we kind of have retired the box office top 10s for now. Never say never, but for now we're seeing what you guys want to hear from us. We had some like Irish movies they want to hear, and state parks, movies that happen in state parks, I guess, or have been filmed there. So we'll be digging into that and seeing what we come up with.
So much more to come.
Yeah. So that's it for this episode of Film in Minnesota. We'll see you guys next time.